You know, I don't come out here, I should say, and act like I know anything about politics. I'm not someone that, tries to say, oh, I know how it's going to play out. I just give my opinion, just like I give my opinion on a lot of things. Now, yesterday, of course, as a lot of you probably know, the House of Representatives, which apparently is democratically run, voted to impeach, I should say, Donald Trump from office because of, from what I understand, abuse of power and obscuration of Congress. In other words, basically obstruction of Congress. That's what it is. Abuse of power, obstruction of Congress. In other words, I guess not, doing right by the Congress. I don't know. And throughout the day, this thing ran for the whole day, since about 9 o'clock to maybe 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Pacific. They were just nonstop special report on this. And honestly, I saw some clips, I read some articles, and here's the thing. Some of the Republican representatives in the House basically pointed out some obvious clues, a lot of clues that we as people, whether we're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, pretty much know, pretty much see. In fact, one guy, I can't think of his name right now. His name was Stewart. He was a Republican, I think, out of, Texas or Utah, one of them. And he basically stated what a lot of us pretty much figured. In his own way, he stated that even if Trump gets impeached, and this goes all the way through, that Hillary Clinton will not be the next president, that instead it would be Pence, Vice President Pence. He did bring that up. And then this other guy, this Democrat called Nadler, who I guess a lot of people are looking at now as a hypocrite because he says one thing about 21 years ago, and now 21 years later he says something else that goes against what he said in 1998. He basically comes out and says, well, need I remind Mr. Stewart here that should Mr. Trump be impeached, that Vice President Pence would take over as president and not Hillary Clinton. Now, some people might point out that he was quick to remind the Republican, Mr. Stewart, about that, even though I think Stewart said it himself. And a lot of people will look at that and be like, something just doesn't seem right about all this. Why was he quick to kind of acknowledge that and get Republicans to cheer in the process? People are very suspicious. People are very suspicious about what's going on. But what Stewart said, and I think others are doing that thing, because I did not, I'll be honest with you, I'm not one of those people that's going to sit through from what YouTube has timed as 11 hours, almost 12 hours of crap. Political crap, that is. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to go by what's reported, by what people are talking about on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. And honestly, all I see here, in retrospect, looking back on it right now, as much as I've given my thoughts on it, I should say, on it during my Topics on My Mind videos at times, I think honestly what some of the Republicans said there in the House, because I would watch video clips, and I would even have to listen to it a little bit, because what I was doing throughout the day was I was trying to finish off my first of maybe a few traditional 2019 holiday movie/special DVDs. And as I was finishing them up, and I had to go and finalize the disc or finalize the recording, of course it would go right to the because it's a DVR and the DVR has its limits, it would go right to the channel that it was originally on. In this case, it was NBC. So anyway, long story short, when it would go back to that, and I would hear what they would say there, because they were broadcasting it on there, as well as I would look at clips, one of the things I would notice is some Republicans would point out that, you know, the reason this is really happening isn't because of all the easy for me to say, accusations or crimes or so-called crimes or whatever that the Democrats are accusing Trump of committing, or like I said, it's not about the accusations thrown at Trump they're throwing at Trump and saying that he abused his power, he did this, he did that. The one thing, the one word, the one sentence that was used over and over again throughout this whole thing was, you know, this is a group of Democrats that hate. That was the word that was used. Hatred. Hate. Those were the words that were used throughout by the Republicans that were trying to voice their argument about it. Because what they saw, and again, I kind of see it, and again, I don't think it's any surprise to any other Republicans, independents, Democrats out there, or even anybody that's watching this that's a Republican, Democrat, or independent, that this whole thing, when you get down to the core of it, is about hatred. It's about the fact that, like that Stewart guy said, one of the main reasons this is going on, in fact, articles have even come out stating that Nancy Pelosi and many others have been trying to get Trump out of office since the day he was elected into office, or have been trying to get him out of office for about, you know, for about 2 years prior. Yeah, according to some articles and reports, and even some of the Republicans that came up and talked and voiced their arguments and debated the situation, mostly a lot of them would point out that these people have been trying to get Trump out of office since he got elected, or since he was sworn in. You know, and then there's reports coming out that Pelosi's been trying to get him out since about 2 years ago. And why? Why? What? Because it's the way he... What? It's because of the way he does things? He conducts himself? As people would say? Okay, look. We all agree, no matter what party, there are some things that Trump has done as president, and we'll say, as president, whether on camera, in an interview, on social media, whatever, that may not make him look good. You know, in other words, he's the kind of president that thinks before that says, but basically, he's the kind of president that says what's on his mind, and to him, that's all that matters. He's not going to hide anything, basically. He's not a president that's not going to be like, go to a Democrat or go to a Republican and say, and go over what he's going to say and go like, oh, should I say this? Give me some pointers. No, he's the kind of president that's going to come out and say what he wants, say what's on his mind, whether we agree with it or we don't. And sometimes, yeah, it gets him in trouble, it gets him in hot water, but he's the kind of president that's not going to hide anything, whether we like it or we don't. And I think when you get down to it, that's one of the things that upset the Democrats, is he's a president that's not going to go to them and say, can you help me out here? What should I say here? Give me some bullet points. No. It's not, he's not that kind of a president. And again, you know, like I said, Republicans in this very hearing at the House of Representatives said it best, and I'm sure they're going to say it during the Senate trial, that the only reason, when you get down to the core of this, the only true reason at the core of this, that they're trying to get Trump out of office, get him out of power, isn't because of the accusations thrown at him, isn't because, you know, his obstruction of Congress or anything like that, or the Ukraine stuff or whatever, or the foreign stuff, whatever. It's mainly at the core of it that they are still bitter at the fact that Hillary Clinton did not get into office. And that's the truth. And again, I'm sure anybody watching this, listening to what I'm saying, or listening to what others have had to say, the Young Turks, ABC News, Voice of Reason, Salamonster, whoever wants to talk about it, you know, Schleg Daddy, Jeff Siegel on the Schleg Daddy TV, you know, the Lex Man, whatever, when you get down to it, the core reason isn't because of everything he's accused of or some of the things he may have done by basically opening his mouth without thinking about what he's going to say first. When you get down to it, the core reason is Hillary didn't get in. Basically, I told myself, I was telling myself all day yesterday, as I was doing my DVR recording, on my DVD recording, my DVR recordings, I kept saying to myself over and over, it's bitterness. These people are still bitter that Hillary didn't get in, and they are doing whatever they can to get this guy out because he's not the person they wanted. And he's not the kind of guy or president, man or woman, that's going to basically go to them and say, can you help me with this? Give me bullet points to say something? No. He's the one that's going to come out and say what's on his mind, no matter whether you agree with it or you don't. He's not going to hide anything. He's not going to hide anything. And what people need to remember too, and again, like I said, I'm not someone that's an expert in politics, but I do listen and follow things and kind of get information when I need it. They have to remember one thing. The House may have impeached Trump, but it's the Senate trial that's going to make the final decision. And if the Senate trial surprises us and says, yeah, Trump, too much evidence against you, you're gone, then fine. Pence gets elected into office or gets sworn into office that very day or the next day or so, whatever. But a lot of people have come out on record and have said that since the Senate, I should say, is the exact opposite of what the House is, and that being it's a Republican-controlled Senate, a majority of it, opposite of the House, which is a Democrat-controlled Senate, that everybody, what I'm trying to say, hold on for a sec. What I'm trying to say is, everybody has pointed out that, yeah, the House of Representatives, which is a democratically controlled portion of the Congress of the government in Washington, you know, they may have impeached Trump, but now that it's heading to the Senate for a trial and for final vote, whatever, the Senate is the exact opposite of what the House is. The House is democratically controlled, a majority of it. The Senate is Republically controlled, a majority of that. Well, a majority of it, I should say, is Republically controlled. And that's what a lot of people are looking at. Even a lot of news networks, cable networks like Fox News, CNN, ABC News, NBC News, CBS News, Headline News, you name it, they're all basically saying that, yeah, the House may have achieved victory here, but the final say is with the Senate, and the Senate is in support of Trump. They are mostly Republican. Now, to me, if what they say could be true, then, like a lot of people are saying, even those that are following, like my friends, you know, like my friends here in California and in Kansas, you know, basically Trump's not going to go anywhere. He's not. Basically what this impeachment's going to be like is like a slap on the hand to Trump. To the Senate and Trump, it's going to be like a slap on the hand and say, you know, basically by the Democrats saying, bad boy, don't you ever do those things again. Bad, bad boy. That's all it's going to be. It's a slap on the hand. Basically a warning saying, don't try this stuff again or else we'll do worse. And that's about it. I know that sounds silly I know that's silly what I just said, but that's basically what it's going to turn out to be. Now, there's a possibility, and again, I'm not a political expert, thank God, but there is a possibility an agreement, some kind of negotiation could be made to where, you know, if Trump wants to make a decision or feels this is the decision that has to be made, that he first has to run it by the Democrats, and if the Democrats say, no, it sounds good, but no, this needs to change a little bit to make it sound better, there you go. If that's the case, so let's say Trump wants to, let's say, I don't know, you know, work with state governments and say, okay, we'll restore net neutrality, and here's how we're going to do it. He takes it to the Democrats, and Democrats are like, yeah, it sounds good, but it's not totally, we can't agree with this. Parts of it sound good, we can't agree with it, but here's what we can do. Here's what you can do. Here's some changes. Try that. That'll work. If that's the case, if that's possibly the direction that the trial could go, where negotiation and agreement is made to where Trump, before he finalizes his decision, runs it by the Democrats first, then, so be it. It's a win-win. But in the end, honestly, all joking aside or whatever, or opinionating aside, what I just said, even as silly as it sounds, is the truth. If the Senate votes in favor of keeping Trump in office and basically feel like, hey, everything you Democrats are accusing him of is not true, then all this impeachment that the House did, is just going to be a slap on the wrist. That's it. It's going to be like, you Donald, go to the corner and take a timeout for about 20 minutes. That's it. It's basically them saying, Trump, go to the corner, stay in the corner, stay there for 20 minutes, you're in timeout. That's mainly what it's going to be when you really look at it. Yeah, it's going to have an asterisk next to his presidential run, even if he gets reelected. But the thing is, all it's really going to be is a slap on the wrist. Two things are going to come out of it. It's going to be an asterisk next to his first presidential run in office or term in office, and it's going to be a slap on the wrist. That's all it's going to be. And that's the truth. That is the absolute truth. And again, I'm not a political expert or anything, but that's what it's going to be if the Senate, and according to a lot of people, and even those at several news sites and channels, are saying to be the case, the Senate voting in favor to keep him in office, that's all it's going to really be. That's all it's going to really be. So, yeah, he is, unfortunately, the third president to be impeached, but it's not done yet. It's not done yet, because even though a lot of people are pointing out various reasons why Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton were impeached, put through this circumstance, they're all pointing out that they had legit reasons on those two, mostly Bill Clinton for the crime he committed. But to a lot of Republicans and a lot of Americans, whether we like to admit it or not, Donald Trump has not done anything. Even some Democrats and independents have agreed that he has not done anything wrong. And that all this really is in the end is just an impeachment out of hatred and disdain. Because the Democrats didn't get Hillary in like they wanted. So, honestly, those are just my opinions, uncut, unfiltered, unscripted. Just thought I'd let you guys know what my thoughts are. And again, I honestly believe that in the end, all this is really going to lead to is something like a slap on the wrist, and that's it. I don't think it's going to lead to anything worse than that. And, if, like I said, if some kind of negotiation agreement is made between the two where, Trump wants to sign something into office, but he has to first run it by certain Democrats to make sure it's good or whatever, or he comes up with an idea that he wants to do, but he's got to run it by the Democrats first, especially those that tried to get him out, so be it. I mean, what's funny is a lot of people that feel that this was ridiculous, a stupid situation to go through over the past several weeks, if not months, are now coming out and saying, let's impeach Pelosi, because basically they look at her and they say, you're the reason this is happening. And they all have, again, like I said, they all have the suspicions about why she's doing it, if not the one that's at the core of it. So, anyway, though, again, those are just my uncut, unfiltered, uncensored, off the script, unscripted, I should say, thoughts on this whole impeachment situation. Now it goes to Senate for the Senate trial, and if everybody is saying, and if everybody feels the way they do, then the Senate's going to say, yeah, they're going to say, yeah, Nancy, you and the Democratic House may have impeached him, but he's staying. He's not leaving, no matter what you say. And again, all that's going to make this impeachment thing on Trump is a slap on the wrist, go in the corner for 20 minutes and a timeout, and an asterisk at his name. An asterisk next to his first run as president. That's if he gets reelected. So, anyway, though, those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd love to hear what each and every one of you have to say about it. And I will talk to y'all later.